Today we're talking about the co-op games from 1994. But first, let's take a look at what else was happening in '94. Super Metroid, Earthbound, Earthworm Jim, Killer Instinct, Doom 2, Marathon, Need for Speed, Cruisin' USA, and for home consoles, the Sega 32X. And at the end of the year, in Japan, we saw the Sega Saturn and the original PlayStation. Now let's take a look at the co-op games. Sonic 3 and Knuckles is a remarkable gem in the Sonic franchise, stemming from a complex release history that initially saw the game split into two parts. When you have the physical cartridges, you were able to lock on Sonic 3 on top of Sonic and Knuckles, which forms the definitive version of Sonic 3. In this iteration, players can choose between Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, each offering unique abilities and super transformations. The addition of save functionality enhances gameplay accessibility, while the exceptional soundtrack complements the vibrant environments. The game's innovative features and replay value make it one of the best Sonic titles to date. And although it's still not a great co-op experience, as Tails often just gets left in the dust, it is an improvement over Sonic 2, as now Tails can fly and he can lift Sonic as well. Contra Hardcore on the Sega Genesis stands as a testament to the Contra series' reputation for unrelenting difficulty. Set in a futuristic world under siege by unmanned weapons, the game introduces unique concepts, rarely seen elsewhere in the franchise. Its branching storyline allows players to select different pathways, altering their encounters and levels. Gameplay remains true to the series, offering intense 2D shooting action, with varied stages, vehicles, and challenging bosses. The game's one-hit deaths and limited continues add to the formidable challenge, making completion a true achievement. While the difficulty may deter some, two-player co-op provides a more enjoyable experience. Notably, Contra Hardcore introduces 4 distinct characters, each with unique attributes, enriching replayability. Visually, the game has aged well, boasting vibrant colors, detailed sprites, and imposing boss battles. Ultimately, this cooperative 2D shooter offers fantastic graphics, a steep difficulty curve, and a rewarding sense of accomplishment for those who persevere. Super Bomberman 2 on the Super Nintendo builds upon the foundation of its predecessor, addressing its shortcomings and delivering an exceptional Bomberman experience. While the core mechanics remain largely unchanged, subtle improvements enhance the gameplay, such as Bomberman's increased movement speed and a separate UI element for tracking bombs and explosion size. The game introduces a few new power-ups, including the Spike Bomb, Trigger Bomb, and Jelly Bombs, adding variety to the mix. The campaign sees significant improvements with a focus on level design, featuring engaging puzzles and interactive elements, and it can be played in 2-player co-op as well. The thematic traps in each world elevate the challenge, with clever arrangements and smart design choices. The boss battles against the dastardly bombers offer both challenge and satisfaction, but multiplayer remains the heart of Bomberman, with numerous customization options and well-designed battle mode stages. Super Bomberman 2 stands as one of the best in the series, delivering a near-perfect action game experience on the Super Nintendo. Battletoads Arcade finally found its way into the hearts of gamers through its inclusion in Rare Replay, and it's a solid, albeit short, beat-em-up experience. In contrast to its console origins, this arcade game is far more forgiving. The game shines brightest in its chaotic multiplayer mode, allowing all 3 Toads to join the action simultaneously. This installment is notably more violent and crude, pushing the envelope with its humor and exaggerated violence. The levels are creatively designed, though the game's short length is a drawback, and the absence of a final battle with the Dark Queen is a missed opportunity. Nevertheless, Battletoads Arcade offers enjoyable, action-packed gameplay, complemented by great graphics, animations, and an excellent soundtrack by David Wise. Its inclusion in Rare Replay introduces it to a wider audience, and cements its place as a standout in the series. Darius Gaiden injects the Darius series with a much-needed dose of adrenaline, making it a standout entry in the franchise, while the default power-up system remains similar to its predecessors, with main weapon, missile, and shield upgrades. The addition of the black hole bomb adds firepower and helps balance the high difficulty level. The game introduces an exciting enemy capture system, allowing players to briefly turn mini-bosses into powerful allies, although it leaves a desire for more expanded features. The rank system keeps the gameplay challenging by scaling to match your power, striking a balance between collecting power-ups and avoiding them. Well-designed stages lead to epic boss battles that, while impressive, could be shorter. With distinct zones, multiple endings, and superb production value, Darius Gaiden shines as one of the best in the series and a standout shooter in the arcades, and was later ported to the Sega Saturn. The Denjin Makai series in the arcades, with its large character roster and numerous special moves, provides a fresh take on the classic beat-em-up formula. The game offers 6 distinct characters, each with unique abilities and attacks, creating a varied and engaging gameplay experience. Denjin Makai introduces a power meter for special moves, changing the way these moves are executed compared to other beat-em-ups. While it alters the gameplay flow, it adds depth to the combat system. The graphics and character designs are decent, fitting the futuristic cyberpunk setting, but some boss recycling can be seen. The music is solid, although it features familiar tunes reminiscent of 80s music. This is definitely a hidden gem in the beat-em-up genre, and worth seeking out. Donkey Kong Country, released in 1994 during a critical phase for the Super Nintendo, showcased the console's capabilities with its pre-rendered graphics. While the graphics may not hold up today, the game offered a unique atmosphere, solid platforming gameplay, and a memorable soundtrack composed by David Wise. The game has a tag team co-op mode where one player controls Donkey Kong and the other takes control of Diddy Kong, and you can switch at any time. Donkey Kong Country is still remembered as one of the most popular games to come out on the Super Nintendo, and it's still a really solid platforming experience. Dungeons & Dragons Tower of Doom is a standout beat-em-up from Capcom that came out in the arcades. It merges the thrill of arcade brawling with the depth of RPG choices, with 4 character classes, hidden rooms, and a wealth of decisions that affect your campaign's outcome. It offers replay value galore. The game's visuals are impressive, and its smooth action rarely suffers from slowdown, even with 4 players on screen. The audio complements the experience with fitting music, although it might not be as memorable as one of Capcom's other classics. While the control scheme has some quirks, and certain bosses feel like they were designed just to steal your quarters, the overall package is a fantastic blend of action and role-playing elements that earn its place as one of the best beat-em-up games of all time. Elevator Action Returns, known as Elevator Action 2 in North America, is a hidden gem in Taito's arcade catalog, and was later released on the Sega Saturn, offering an action-packed blend of 2D platforming and espionage thrills. While it abandons the original storyline and characters, it introduces new heroes and a techno-thriller vibe. The gameplay is fluid and enhanced with 3 character classes, improved mobility, and diagonal shooting. The level designs keep the elevator action fresh, and the gradual difficulty curve ensures a fair challenge. Visually, the game shines with impressive sprites and attention to detail, fitting the era well. The audio adds to the experience with jazzy tunes and voice samples. Elevator Action Returns originally came out in the arcades, but the best way to enjoy it is the Sega Saturn version, albeit at a premium cost. Overall, it's a standout arcade title that combines action and strategy, earning its spot among top arcade games. Gun Force 2, also known as Geostorm in Japan, is an excellent run-and-gun sequel that surpasses its predecessor in every aspect. Developed by Nazca Corporation for IREM in 1994, this arcade gem is a testament to their prowess. The game features improved controls, faster and tighter gameplay, and an array of special weapons that can be dual-wielded for added strategy. The ability to commandeer various vehicles, including motorcycles, tanks, and mechs, adds depth to the gameplay. Gun Force 2 shines visually with detailed pixel art, expressive animation, and impressive boss battles. The soundtrack complements the action perfectly, and the sound effects are a significant improvement over the original. With its engaging gameplay and outstanding presentation, Gun Force 2 is a must-play for Metal Slug and run-and-gun enthusiasts alike. Pocky and Rocky 2, a 1994 Super Nintendo sequel, brings more stages, characters, and mechanics while maintaining its core gameplay. In single-player mode, it shines with added tools for Pocky, a beautiful Japanese-inspired soundtrack, and captivating visuals. However, in co-op, it tends to fall short of its predecessor, due to design choices that favor player 1. Pocky and Rocky 2 embraces Japanese folklore, focusing on a harvest festival disrupted by Impi, a mysterious figure seeking to marry Princess Luna. While some localization issues exist, the game offers 9 stages, including shoot-'em-up sections and branching paths, encouraging exploration. It remains a standout 16-bit run-and-gun experience, showcasing creativity and charm. Streets of Rage 3, the final of Sega's classic Genesis brawler trilogy, takes the series into bizarre territory, with an eccentric plot featuring robots, a boxing kangaroo, and an elderly character with electronic weaponry. While the game retains the core side-scrolling beat-em-up gameplay, it falls short in comparison to its predecessor, Streets of Rage 2. Although if you play the Japanese version, Bare Knuckle 3, the difficulty is far more balanced. So definitely play the Japanese version. Even though it's not as good as Streets of Rage 2, it's still an excellent experience with some good upgrades as well. For instance, you can dash, and you have some more special moves that you can pull off. Wild Guns by Natsume brings together cowboys and steampunk in a thrilling shoot-'em-up adventure. Drawing inspiration from arcade shooters like Cabal and Blood Brothers, you play as Clint or Annie, facing human and robotic foes. Your character moves along the bottom of the screen, shooting with precision via a movable crosshair. Mastering the dynamic between character control and crosshair movement is crucial for survival. Wild Guns offers an array of jumps, rolls, and lassoing techniques, and as you progress, you'll discover power-ups that grant machine guns, grenade launchers, and shotguns. The game's pacing is relentless, with each stage divided into mini-boss and main boss encounters, all against a ticking clock. The action is accompanied by impressive visuals and sound design. While its difficulty and brevity may spark debate, Wild Guns is an enjoyable and worthwhile addition to the co-op library on the Super Nintendo. Virtua Cop, released by Sega, originally in Japan in 1994 in the arcades, and developed by AM2, revolutionized the rail shooter genre by introducing 3D polygons instead of sprites or digitized graphics. The Sega Saturn version faithfully replicates the arcade experience, especially with Sega's dedicated light gun, the Stunner. It's also playable with standard controllers or the Sega mouse. Virtua Cop's innovation lies in precise hit zones within its 3D graphics, allowing for dynamic enemy reactions depending on where they're shot. The game's camera work keeps the action exciting, but its limited content, featuring only 3 short missions and a multiplayer shooting gallery, may disappoint fans seeking more. Treasure's Yu Yu Hakusho, Makyō Tōitsusen, despite being an anime licensed title for the Sega Mega Drive in 1994, stands out as a remarkable fighting game, utilizing an innovative control scheme that accommodates both 3-button and 6-button controllers. It emphasizes defense and mobility alongside offense, adding depth to the gameplay. The single-round, untimed 4-player battles with unique characters and meticulous animations create a hectic yet enjoyable experience. The visuals impress with scaling character sprites, parallax backgrounds, and various graphical effects, while the voice samples enhance the audio, although the music remains forgettable. However, the game's limited release outside of Japan and Brazil has kept it from receiving the recognition it deserves, making it a hidden gem in gaming history. Although not primarily known as a co-op game, you're able to do 2-on-2 battles as teams, and this is an underrated feature in fighting games. Zero Tolerance, a first-person shooter released by Technopop in 1994 for the Sega Genesis, showcases the technical challenges faced by early console FPS games. Players select a team member with unique abilities and explore maze-like environments, while fighting enemies and dealing with limited ammo supplies. The main feature that makes this game stand out is its system link capabilities. If you have 2 Sega Genesis consoles, a link cable, and 2 copies of Zero Tolerance, as well as 2 TVs, you're able to play through the whole game in co-op. And this is just impressive to see for the time. Although it might not hold up to what PC first-person shooters were doing at the time, it's still just cool to see for the hardware. Biker Mice from Mars proves to be a solid hidden gem from the mid-90s gaming era. This game offers the choice of 6 distinct racers, each with their unique strengths and weaknesses, engaging in thrilling races across a variety of captivating landscapes, including cities, islands, sewers, circuits, and fortresses. With 3 race modes, power-ups, and special weapons, the game introduces a layer of strategy to the high-speed gameplay. The vibrant comic book-style graphics and lively soundtrack create an engaging and fast-paced atmosphere. While a few racers may have their drawbacks, Biker Mice from Mars remains an underappreciated and entertaining title. It promises hours of enjoyment for any fan of racing games. And you can play the races in co-op. If one player gets first place, you're both able to move on to the next. Taito, renowned for its diverse arcade and console games in the 80s and 90s, had a penchant for shoot-'em-up titles, most notably Space Invaders and the Darius series. However, their Ray trilogy remains a lesser-known gem, consisting of Rayforce, Ray Storm, and Ray Crisis. Rayforce, the first installment, came out in arcades and stands as a masterpiece in vertical shooters. With a grim narrative backdrop of a murderous artificial intelligence, its stunning visuals powered by the Taito's F3 graphical processor offer vibrant space landscapes filled with dynamic details, enhancing the immersive atmosphere. Rayforce's gameplay introduces a unique mechanic of dual action, forcing players to simultaneously engage enemies above and below. This mechanic, along with relentless challenges, keeps players on their toes, especially during intense boss battles. With excellent 2-player co-op mode and remarkable arcade quality, Rayforce earns its place among the best shoot-'em-ups of its time. Burning Soldier, an on-rails space shooter for the 3DO, offers a classic yet somewhat unremarkable experience in a genre that lost its luster in the 90s. The game's story, delivered through introductory FMV sequences, involves an alien race attacking Earth and humanity's fight for survival. Graphically, the game combines early 90s video elements, including period FMV, with sprites superimposed over video backgrounds. While functional, the lack of enemy animation and the degradation of visuals as objects approach the player are noticeable downsides. That being said, when it comes to the 3DO, we didn't have a lot of co-op games. Burning Soldier obviously isn't doing anything new, but it's still a pretty fun and solid on-rail shooter, and I think it was novel for its time. Alien vs. Predator, a Capcom arcade gem from May 1994, remains an underappreciated classic. Originally intended as a movie tie-in, it tells an intriguing original story set in the Alien vs. Predator universe. This scrolling beat-em-up boasts chunky sprites, satisfying combat, and a distinctive addition, selectable Predator characters and xenomorph enemies, creating a thrilling mashup. The game's controls feature jump, melee attacks, and long-range attacks, with ammo management, making each character unique. Grappling, throwing, and weapon pickups further enhance gameplay. Graphics showcase large, detailed character and enemy sprites, colorful backgrounds, and impressive effects, while the sound design complements the experience with impactful sound effects and atmospheric music. Alien vs. Predator is still often considered one of the best beat-em-ups of all time, and it's unfortunate that it never received a home console release, so it was stuck in the arcades. Ganbare Goemon 3 is another game in the series that never got a US release. It came out exclusively on the Super Famicom in Japan, but recently it got a fan translation. Unlike previous entries in the series, this one focuses less on action and platforming and more on adventure game mechanics, with more top-down sections, somewhat similar to a Zelda game. One of the strongest features is that you have access to all 4 characters at any time, and you can switch between them on the fly. This one still includes the great co-op gameplay from the previous entries, as well as some of the impact boss battles. Ganbare Goemon 3 is another great game in the Goemon series that went underappreciated in the US. So those are some of the co-op games from 1994. What are some that we missed? And if you enjoyed this video, check out our video from last week where we talk about the co-op games from 1993. Thank you for watching.